Thank you very much, Chairperson, Ms. Diana Francis. And I'm sure you would wonder why it is that we had put Registrar of Intellectual Property, Ms. Jan Williams, to talk where she did. But she was talking about creatives. And Marcia Jeffers clearly showed the connection where we need to have that focus in our country on creatives, talent development, and the Intellectual Property Office highlights just that in relation to the talents of Marcia Jeffers and others, especially at this time of Christmas in our country. Your Excellency, I would wish to adopt the protocol that has been established already by our chairperson, but I must recognize my cabinet colleague, Mr. Honorable Eugene Hamilton, Ambassador Lynn, for being here, and all others who are here. Good morning. I must say that I had a prepared address. This is a feature address. But having heard the presenters before me, I'm not sure I'm going to go through all of that. Safe to say that we're here today on a multifold mission. First and foremost, and most prominent, has been the opening of the permanent site for land registry and the launch of the very critical land information system. But that is just part of why we are here, because we are here today to recognize the establishment of a center, a complex of the services which the Ministry of Justice and Legal Affairs will present to the people of St. Kitts and Nevis. The building next door is now officially opened. It will house on the third floor. It looks like a two-story building, but the annex, the top of the building, the very spacious space that will shortly house the offices of the Land Commission. And we heard today from the Law Commission. And we heard today from Mrs. Josephine Mallory-Webb, who is our Law Commissioner, who does not just the revision of the laws, but she also is involved in reforming our laws as well, as you heard in her references to work in terms of providing a tobacco-free work environment. The building also will hold, and we are here today to note, the offices of intellectual property, and Registrar Jan Williams gave a very succinct but incredibly important overview of what the Office of the Intellectual Property does. It registers primarily trademarks, patents, and copyrights, and it protects that creativity of our people and others too, the intellectual property that operates in our country. So they would have a space on the second floor adjacent to the Office of the Land Registry that we're here for. I should point out that the ground floor of the building is yet to be readied, but we expect that during the course of the next 12 months, we would complete the preparations to house the Office of the Legal Aid Center. Legal Aid and Advice Center should now find a home here as well to offer support to those indigents, those who are less fortunate, who need to get advice and support in their legal matters in the court systems and elsewhere. And finally, but by no means least, we expect that the electoral office will be moved to this building in the near future to be housed on the ground floor of this building. So this new complex that we have here holds a number of very critical and important offices, departments of the Ministry of Justice and Legal Affairs. And we noted earlier, and have to thank Mr. Ken Kelly, businessman, who would have made available to the government and people of St. Kitts and Nevis this building, this space, as it is, the space below it and next to a parking lot, to be able to provide a very important space for services in the heart of Bastille, close to the Sir Lilo Ellenmore Judicial Complex, and next door to the major complex of offices of practitioners and other businesses in the Sands complex here in downtown Bastille. So thank you, Mr. Kelly, for having come forward and offered this building to us for sale. I wanted to talk a bit about the question of land and land administration. I think it would be QC Gonzalez, Senior Counsel Anthony Gonzalez, would have put in very good perspective what the land registry is supposed to do and what it entails. And I don't want to belabor you and go over that. Just to say that the question of land has been one at the center of our economic development, going back to the start of colonization. When the British first came here, land was important. They grew sugar. And our history over the years, hundreds of years, had been centered on the ownership of sugar estates. By 1975, there were some 50 sugar estates that occupied St. Kitts. Some 50 of them, based on a 1828 map. The government of the day would have acquired all of those lands, with some exceptions, some minor exceptions. The Sugar Lands Acquisition Act. There were some issues over time of getting proper title to those lands and ownership, which was eventually done by 1986. But most of the land at the time would have become crown land, owned by the government, and people wanted land to live, to do business, to move to. The question of land registration, who owns what, becomes important. And so over time, here in St. Kitts and Nevis, we need to be able to put in place a very stable, fair, efficient, a system that everybody can depend on to protect their property rights and other rights as they do business, they live, their family things. QC Gonzalez would have made reference to the fact that over time, there have been a number of laws that have governed those property rights, that govern the transactions involved in the transfer, the leasing, and others in terms of land and property rights in our country. Dating back to the 1880s, where the Towing system introduced land management in a very, the title by registration laws and so forth that began in 1881, 1883 and so forth. Very important to us. And over time, the ownership of land, the registration of land, the management of land, land administration is one of the key functions in terms of our country and over which the government has to have very important control over that. It would have been Registrar Myers, Registrar of Lands, who would have indicated that over time, the registration of property had always been embedded in the High Court registry. And that is something that is throughout the region. But from time to time, we have determined that to be able to have a more dedicated registry, we have had to move forward. And so in 2017, you would have heard that the Land Registration Act would have been passed by this government of ours to create a dedicated land registry. It had been found very critical because of the large number of matters that had been unregistered. The backlog was in the thousands. And so we had to make the system more efficient. That's taken us some time, but today we are here to note and to put full recognition on the fact that the Land Registry Office, the dedicated Land Registry Office, has now been opened, is open for business, and we want to make it as efficient as we can. I would want to say that it would have been some 3 to 4 years ago when we started as a government to speak about making our economy more efficient, to make it more user-friendly, to use technology to improve our services to the people. It would have been 2 years ago at the budget address that His Honorable Prime Minister would have raised the issue of digitizing, providing a digital economy, a digital society. We in Justice and Legal had been for some time working towards that. And so more and more of our services have taken on the position where we would walk in terms of a digital footprint. And we, at that time, would have been engaged with the Republic of China and Taiwan. The Republic of China and Taiwan had become a partner in terms of ICTs of our government for many years. They had been involved in helping us to build out the ICT Center on the St. Paul Southwell Industrial Site. They have been involved in producing and providing for patient records and the health information system at the GNF General Hospital. And they have now become a very staunch and reliable partner in terms of providing services in our justice system. We began to speak about digitizing, making available the records of the Land Registry in 2018. And we have to thank them very much for the work that has been done in terms of producing the Land Administration Information System. We have been engaged with a company in Taiwan called HiWeb that has been preparing, has done all the groundwork to provide for us this digital system, a system, online system, in which practitioners, those who use the land registry, will be able to do their work, transact their business online with this system. So, the Land Administration Information System has to it a very comprehensive system in terms of searches. You can look, find titles, documents, mortgages, caveats, all sorts of documents related to a parcel of land on this system, what we call the search engine. It is the first phase, the first thing you interact with the registry for, to find out what's available, what's the state of it. The land information system will then move forward to a second phase, and that is to be able to register your business, your titles, your documents, your lands online. That is still a work in progress, a phase 2 that we hope should be completed over the next quarter, the next 4 months or so. We expect that to be ready for unveiling. But it is the search engine that today we will be able to look at, to see, and you'll be able shortly to be able to interact with that. Today has been a long journey. I'm very happy that we have gotten here. And we have to thank all those who have been involved. We have to thank, as I said, the Republic of China and Taiwan, Ambassador Lin and his team, and a special word to Mr. Edward Chen. Edward has been the project manager working closely with us every day. And before him, I must mention Joanna Wang, who has moved on to other jurisdictions. But every Friday, without fail, Edward Chin is there with our team, working to link up with the developers in Taiwan, some 12 hours ahead of us. So there at midnight, we are having meetings with Dylan, Stan, and others who look for the problems that we have. We make recommendations. The following week, they come back to show the progress. And this has been going on for months and months. So we are happy to you, Edward, to you, Ambassador, and we are happy of the work that is being done with our very good friends, the Republic of Taiwan, of China, Taiwan. They are our good friends, and that should be there a clap. I want to say to you, Ambassador, a word from our Prime Minister, who unfortunately could not be here with us today. He had to be unavoidably called away. But he would like to know that he wants you to convey to your government and people of Taiwan, China and Taiwan, his deep felt thanks for the work that you're doing in this process. Okay? I won't be much longer, I promise you. Just to say that we owe a great deal of thanks to Registrar Dawn Myers, to the Land Registry Committee that had been put together. And I think I want to talk a little bit about that Land Registry Committee because it's cross-government departments, heads who have come together. I see with us Controller of Inland Revenue, Mr. Edward Gift. They have been part of our land registry. We have here, I noted some of our senior land surveyors, Mr. Ashton Leader, I recognize. President of the Land Surveyors, Mr. James Buchanan is here. We have members from the Ministry of Sustainable Development, Planning, the Planning Department are critical to our land lands and surveys. And of course, we have had from the IT department, Ms. Ophelia Blanchard, the e-government coordinator, who has been very critical in the work that we do. I want to say special thanks as well to my senior counsel, Mrs. Tashna Powell-Williams, who has been at the heart front of this, at the center of this development for many years. And so Tashna, we want to thank you for the work you have done as well in making this a reality here today. I want to talk about one last thing before I take my seat and so we can move forward, and that is what next do we want to do in terms of land administration. And I want to add to what Tony Gonzalez has been speaking about, the comprehensive overview of the land process, and that is we wanted to be able to have readied today, hopefully we'll have so within the next year, what we call a cadastre, a map that actually shows each parcel of land that you do transaction on. So if you want to buy a piece of land, you should be able to go to a map, a cadastre, and to be able to pinpoint that piece of land. You should know who the land belongs to, what's the size of the land, the availability of the land. And so we have been engaged over the last year and a half with Medici Land Governance. It's an American company that has done flyovers here in St. Kitts, has taken pictures, slides of all of the land up to 1,000 or just below the mountain range here in St. Kitts. All of the land is available. We now have to move forward to ensure that the parcels of land that people own are all put on that land. What is the state of that land? The verification process. And the cadastral survey that would require us to have surveyors and lawyers and workers visit the lands, the properties on the island to ensure that the information on this cadastre, this map is accurate. It will be an exciting final stage of the work to do to make the land information system ready for us. It will give us the makings of a modern society, fully modern society, where digitally and otherwise we would have completed the cycle. We'd have parcel IDs digitally described. We can do transactions online, whether it is from an inland revenue perspective to ensure that our taxes are paid, to understand that from if you're a banker, whether you, the mortgage situation, how do we lend people, to ensure that people have collateral in doing their transactions, in terms of planning, whether government or otherwise, social development. What we do here in this land administration information system, it is critical and important to the development of St. Kitts and Nevis. And as we move forward into 2022, whether we have COVID or not, it is going to be a fundamental pillar on which we're going to build the economic recovery of St. Kitts and Nevis as we go forward. So once again, I want to thank each and every one of you for taking time out to come today to share with the Land Registry, the Intellectual Property Office, Law Commission, the Ministry of Justice and Legal Affairs, to be here with us at this very momentous occasion. I want to thank each and every one of you to come and share with us. And once again, thank you, Ambassador, for the work that you and your people are doing. So thank you very much.